day games. Every day should have a day game. But I need another show I could do an hour on why there should be at least one day game in Major League Baseball every day. It's good for the sport. But anyway, we got him today. So welcome in to all you guys in the chat. Appreciate you showing up every day. We got Tokyo Brandon, Bryan, Leonard, and I'm going to get right into it. We're talking Reds, Dodgers. That's going to be our feature game today. We've got Shohei Ohtani on the mound for as long as I guess he's going to go. And then we've got Nick Martinez for the Reds. Bryan, Leonard, the Reds, I felt like they had that one last night. I did a free play video. I gave Reds plus 1.5 out, so that got there. But I was shocked that they couldn't get to the finish line with that 4-2 win. Felt like they had the bullpen edge. Back today, what'd you see last night, and are you getting involved with Reds Dodgers?
Well, I had the Reds in the first 5 yesterday, so that worked out well. I was concerned about the bullpen, and that's the major concern here. Miller Pagan's gone 4 of the 5, Santillan 4 of the 5, Barlow back-to-back, Ashcraft through 27 pitches, and their closer has been a guy that they've kind of overworked, and it showed yesterday a little bit. So I'll put that on Terry Francona. It was a game that Cincinnati should have won, but the Dodgers are a veteran team that knows how to win, and they were able to come back and get that victory. But it was good for me and my clients, but not good for Cincinnati Reds fans. We've got Ohtani's basically probably about a 165 favorite. There's a lot of variance right now. It's early in the morning, obviously. And Martinez going for Cincinnati, a guy that we like. He's been very up and down, but total in that is 9. I don't have a lot of information from the pitching standpoint on Ohtani because for some reason StatCast doesn't have his stats up for pitchers. So I'm going to have to go blind on that, but we will go with Nick Martinez. A lot of info on Nick, 4.69 ERA, 4.07 expected, 1.22 whip. Last 2 seasons, his ERA was 3.1 and 3.43. He did pitch mostly out of the bullpen in those 2 games. So that's why, those 2 seasons, which is why those numbers are better. You should be better in the bullpen because you can lay it all out in a short time as opposed to expanding your starts and going longer. But he's already reached basically what his average was for the last 2 years in innings pitched. He's at 121. But he's a guy that I like. His walk rate last year was amazing at 3.2, but it's still going to a starter now. It's still very good, 5.8. His strikeout rate has obviously gone down the last few years as a reliever, 23, 20.4. This year it's down to 17.2, which you can understand, which gives him about a 11.4 strikeout minus walk. Not really what we're looking for. His best at the walk rate, hard hit rate, and barrel rate, which is pretty good, but can't get many chases. He's in the 11th percentile, whiff percent 12th, strikeout percent 15th. So when he's on there, when the ball gets hit, mostly bad things happen. I was checking out the leaderboard on FanRax for the last month. Just checking out these 2 teams. Cincinnati comes in. They're ranked 21st in WRC Plus at 95. But what really got to me was isolated power. And isolated power is basically your pull power. Teams that are very good at hitting home runs are the teams that have the great pull power. But 2 of the worst, in fact, the 2 worst, has been Cincinnati and Houston. Now, Houston, you can understand that because they're missing their big bats, and obviously their third baseman, who is a major pull hitter, has been hurt. So they're worst in Major League Baseball right now, and it showed in their WRC Plus of 85, despite having a 301 BABIP, which is higher than league average. The Cincinnati lack of power is concerning. They play in a ballpark that is a great home run ballpark, but they're not pulling the ball. That is something you have to consider because in this ballpark, if you can't hit home runs, you're going to lose. And so the Cincinnati club is somebody right now that I have some concerns about. I prefer the Dodgers side in this one, but to be totally honest with you, when a team has a lead and blows it late and loses, to me that gives them additional motivation the following day. That's the Cincinnati situation right now. So it's enough to keep me from getting involved in this game.
The big question here, I think, is going to be how many innings is Ohtani going to pitch? Now, I've heard like rumblings here and there that they're actually going to let him start going 5 innings, but I don't know if that's going to be this game or not. His last 4 starts, he went 2 inning, 2 inning, then he went 3 inning, 3 inning. So is this where they bump him up to 4, or are they going to actually give him a chance to record a win in this game? Not really sure. Ohtani has great numbers, but very limited action, so you can't really put a lot of credence into that. Nick Martinez, his walk rate is a little bit up there. Dodgers bullpen performing terribly right now, but their hitting is starting to catch on. Now, the Dodgers, they had been missing production from Betts and Freeman, and both of those guys are starting to heat up now. So watch out, because if those two guys are starting to hit, and then you got like Pajes in the back, Edmonds starting to heat up, and you got those secondary guys who've been carrying the team for a week or so. Now, those guys, you don't need to depend on them anymore, and whatever you get from them is frosting on the cake. I think the Dodgers are going to start to put up runs in bunches now, so I would go with the Dodgers team total here, perhaps. Haven't done it yet, but if anything, I would either do a game over or the Dodgers team total over here.
Yeah, Bryan mentioned the Reds bullpen being a little bit taxed and used up. Got a great stat for you guys. Not really a stat. It's more of a just something I noticed when I was looking at this game the last couple days. The Dodgers, after last night, have now played 16 straight games decided by 3 runs or less. The Dodgers. That's shocking to me. I would not have ever guessed that, because this is a team that we are so accustomed to just like every once in a while steamrolling a team. And I think everyone sort of has the Dodgers as this like big, powerful team that's going to win big. And, you know, that's what they're supposed to be. Really, like that's what this team is supposed to be. And they've played 16 games consecutive, decided by 3 runs or less. Of course, last night, again, 5-4, they scored late. So I look at this and like maybe the Dodgers didn't have the bullpen usage that the Reds did yesterday, but I think you certainly have to, like their pen collectively certainly has to be just as fatigued if they are in every single day. They're in a 3-run game, 2-run game. And the thing is, they're winning a good amount of these. So it's like, you know, those 2-run wins, 3-run wins, 1-run win, as those pile up, that really taxes a bullpen. So if I'm going to work backwards here, I've got to like the over, because I do think that there's probably runs at the end of this game, if that's the case. And then Tokyo Brandon made a great point. We don't know how long Ohtani's going to go. My guess is it's more about how economical he is at this point. Like, I don't think they're really looking at innings as much as it's like, you know, if his pitch count's down, maybe they let him go 5. Otherwise, it might be 4. Otherwise, it might be 3. But like, you know, let's call it what it, you know, just looking at what he's done, is it going to be more than 4? Probably not. It's probably right. Probably a good assessment of where he's going to be. So you got to think you're going to get at least 5 innings here from the Dodgers bullpen. How deep is Nick Martinez going to go? Right? Like, he's been shaky, and Colin in the chat says Dodgers will smash Martinez today. Can't really argue with that. It's very possible. So the total being 9.5 is annoying, because 9.5 is kind of that number that baits you a little bit. We all like the flat 9, right? Because 4-4 gets you there. I actually make this total 10.5. So if I had to play this game, I think it would be the over. And then if I absolutely had to play a side, I think I would run it back with Reds plus 1.5. That's kind of what I did. That's kind of what I did in the free pick video yesterday. It got there. So that would be just the lesser of 2 evils for me, minus 115 or whatever. But I think the best play here would be runs. Go ahead, Bryan.
Yeah, in regards to the Dodgers bullpen, Vesey has pitched back-to-back the last 2 days, but only thrown 28 pitches. He may be available. Dreyer has pitched 3 straight games, but he's thrown a total of 21 pitches in those 3 games. That probably still give him the day off, but most of the other guys will be available. Dustin May came in the other day and threw 77. He won't be available, but everybody else should be available for an inning or so. What makes the Dodgers a little bit different than a lot of teams is they really, now with Scott out, they really don't have a designated closer. So they could do a lot of good matchups as the game goes on. And, I think they're in pretty good shape for the bullpen game. Now, there's other teams that are going bullpen games we'll talk about today that I think are going to really struggle, but we'll get to those as we go on.
Russell Deck says DraftKings got Dodgers team total over 5.5 even money. Well, if over 5.5 is even money, if you can get over 4.5 and it's not horrific juice, I could see that. You're getting the visiting team, so that's a plus. You're getting the Reds bullpen that's tired, so that's a plus. You're getting Nick Martinez, who hasn't been that great. The Dodgers lineup should certainly be able to get something. So Russell can't really put you off that. That is I think that's a fine bet if that's a bet that you want to make. All right, Wolf Gaming TV. He says, Adam, why did you pick the Rockies plus 1.5? Yesterday they got hammered. Absolutely did, and that is what you're gonna like. That's the conundrum with some of these teams. Rockies might be the best example. You have a team that's probably better than what they were earlier in the year, that's going to show value against the number almost every day. But they are still a young team, and they're still just not a great baseball team. So picking your spots with a team like the Rockies is paramount. And that's, I didn't make it a client play, and it's I used it in the parlay because I thought it was value. But like, that is going to be the tough thing with a team like the Rockies. And you're going to see a couple of these teams emerge over the next week or two as teams really get active. What do we got? 2 days left in the trade market. You're going to see some teams get active where suddenly they're going to dump players, and then they're going to be in the same boat. So I'm going to go to Bryan Leonard. This is his Cleveland Guardians, who got off the mat yesterday with a nice win. How are you seeing this one? Do you have any interest in going with the Rockies today, or are they a team that you're going to have a hard time touching because you just never know what you're going to get?
Well, you've got to realize when the Rockies fall behind and they got to make a move, they're not going to bring in their better relievers. Now, granted, they don't have all-star type relievers on this team, but their back end, they're guys that come in long relief. Those guys are not very good. Just you figure you got the worst team in baseball, and if the last guys in the bullpen are not going to be very good, and they pitched yesterday, 40 for Chiavelli, 15 for Hill, 43 for Herget, but none of the top four relievers on the team, Halverson, Kinley, Vodnik, and Bird, pitched yesterday. Now, they did pitch the day before when they got that victory. So a lot of it depends on how the game goes on. So that's why you get a lot of Rockies games. And for that part, White Sox games, some of their lesser teams, the A's, that sometimes they just get blown out. And it's because they just don't have enough depth in the relief pitching. And that's always a concern there. We're looking at two lefties here, Freeland and Allard. Allard's pitched pretty well for Cleveland. It's a bullpen game for Cleveland here, which is somewhat of a concern. Let's take a look at the Cleveland bullpen over the last few days here. They did get hit pretty hard a couple of days ago, but they're in pretty good shape. Nobody's gone back-to-back except for Tim Herron, who was fresh off of AAA. And he hasn't really looked that good so far. But other than that, everybody should be available in the Cleveland bullpen. Two lefties going today, Freeland and Allard. We're looking at a total of Cleveland about 180 right now, maybe 185, and a total of 8. Cleveland doesn't hit lefties very well. Colorado doesn't hit lefties very well. It is getaway day, but it is an afternoon game as opposed to a lot of these games that are being played earlier. So Cleveland has been one of those teams for me that I don't think they're very good, and they're not making any moves during the break. As far as I know, they've talked about Quan and some others, but they can't. I just can't. They're going to have to be blown away to get rid of Quan. He's their second best player on the team. Shane Bieber pitched in Akron last night. He looked good again. So he will likely be traded. But this is a dead year for Cleveland, and this is a club who's used to be fighting for the playoffs. So I could see Cleveland struggling the second half of the season. But then again, Colorado on the road has never been very good this year. Don't know if I'll get there with them. Part of me thinks it'll be a lower scoring game because they're just looking to get out of here, especially Colorado. So we'll see how it goes, but I'll be passing on this.
The Rockies are a bad team, but they're hitting really well right now. And so are the Guardians, actually. I've got both of these teams ranked over 11 out of 30 teams, and neither bullpen's performing really well. So that would lead me to think over in this one, but I don't have a good read on Allard. I do have a good read on Freeland, though, and he ranks really low. I used to think he's their best pitcher in their rotation, but he might be, actually. If you look, they were starting Dolanger and some other guy, Sanzatella, and compared to those guys, he might be the best one in their rotation, but he's not very good. And if anything, I would do either team total over or the game over, but haven't really done it yet because I don't have a real good read on Allard, so I'll probably stay off of this. I'd love to take Cleveland, but the fact that Colorado's hitting so well kind of scares me off it.
Jabroni, listen, the Rockies are literally the definition of value. I'll explain what, like, that term gets thrown around too much, but this is like cut and dry. Not only do they show line value, but they're 6-5 since the All-Star break, and they've been an underdog in every single game. So if you just bet the Rockies every day since the break, you're doing quite good right now because they've been I'm not talking about betting against the spread. I mean, if you just taken Rockies money line every day since the All-Star break, you're doing just fine because they've been an underdog every single game, and they're 6-5. So that is literally the definition of value right there. The other thing is, and I think it was Steve Duke maybe, or the chat scrolled too quickly. Who's lining up to lay $2 with the Guardians right now? I think that's really when I look at this series, I really see two teams that are not that far off from each other. And I know it seems like, the win-loss records there's a huge disparity in the record, but I'm talking about right now, taking into account what the Guardians have gone through, losing a couple pitchers and having that all go on, taking into account the fact that the Rockies have called some guys up. They're playing a little bit better ball right now. I don't think there's a huge difference between these two teams. And if you're going to continue to give me plus money or playable +1.5 numbers, then I'm going to have to continue to look at that to be a viable option to make a bet on. So, in this case, like Allard, yeah, he's not someone I would bet on. It's probably more of like a bullpen game type situation, as Bryan said. Tokyo Brandon, you said Freeland, he's not great, but he's still a veteran. Like, he's still someone that I think on a given day can go give you 5 or 6 innings and keep you in a game. So I'll go back to what Bryan said, like low scoring game, maybe like getaway day type, sleepy type game. I like the run in that situation. So I'm right back on Rockies +1.5 here. I don't know if I'll use it in the parlay. Jump in the comments and let me know how pissed off you'll be if I use it in the parlay, and I'll think about it for the next 30 minutes. Go ahead, Bryan.
Yeah, I just want to touch on a couple of things that Brandon said, and he's correct. Yeah, Cleveland and Colorado are hitting pretty well, but Colorado's got over the last month a 106 WRC plus. Cleveland's got a 126. But when you look at the BABIPs, Cleveland's at 113. Cleveland's at 313. Colorado's at 319. League average is about 290. So they've been getting a little bit lucky. But what the point I'm trying to make here is look at what the teams that Cleveland has played during this streak where they're supposedly hitting well. Look at these pitching staffs. The Colorado Rockies, the Kansas City Royals without their ace who's hurt, the Baltimore Orioles, and we've seen the Orioles' terrible pitching staff all season long, the Athletics, and the Chicago White Sox. They are playing some of the worst pitching in baseball, and that is why they're hitting right now. This is still not a good hitting team. And as I say all the time, they've only got 2 major league hitters on this team, and they're thinking about trading one of them. I don't want to play Cleveland over. I think they're just taking advantage of a lot of bad pitching.
Good points right there. Yeah, let's move on. I'm not gonna pick that yet, although that is something I'm considering. Again, for me, like to play that though, for me, like that's on my short list for today. I'm gonna have to see how the market plays that because it's still a little bit inflated for where I would want the +1.5, but we'll see how it goes. It's definitely one I'm thinking. Ocho says Blue Jays smoked me. Yeah, it smoked me yesterday too. I went 0-2 in Major League Baseball yesterday, and both my losses were the Blue Jays. Blue Jays game 1, Blue Jays game 2. I took a position on the Blue Jays, I'm sorry, basically against the Orioles, thinking that they wouldn't beat 2 left-handed starters in a day, especially when the second one was Eric Lauer, and the way David Schneider, the way Schneider managed that first game, he basically waved the white flag after in a 4-3 game in the 6th inning, which was puzzling to me. But then he had all his good relief arms, and they couldn't score off Brandon Young. I believe the Blue Jays yesterday, Bryan Leonard went something like 1 for 21 with runners in scoring position in the doubleheader. It was bad. I don't remember what it was. Bo Bichette swung at a ball at his eyes to end the game with second and third. Like it was just a bad day of baseball from the Blue Jays, and in really a doubleheader that couldn't have been more on a platter for them. Charlie Morton, Brandon Young. Brandon Young was supposed to be at A-ball working stuff out. He was actually sent to Aberdeen to like work on mechanics, and then they grabbed him as the 27th man because they needed a guy for the doubleheader. And he came out and he looked like Sandy Koufax. I mean, it was ridiculous stuff. So Bryan Leonard, now these guys turn around and play at noon today. How do you have any faith in the Blue Jays, or do they look cooked right now?
Well, the Barrios and Kramer here. Kramer's been a guy who lately has pitched a lot better than he has earlier in the season. We're looking at a total of maybe, Baltimore 110 favorite, total of 10 here, to slightly to the under. Yeah, I was with you. I went 2-1 yesterday, but my first play was the Baltimore team total under. And needless to say, that one was ugly. So I got the ugly out of the way early. Thankfully, it was only 1.5% play. But yeah, they did not look good. The opener for Toronto could not find the plate. It was just an ugly day for Toronto. And if you look, I mentioned the leaderboards over the last month. They're still leading baseball in WRC plus at 139, but their isolated power is 178. It's the BABIP that's been carrying them. They, along with San Diego's got a 337 BABIP, and Toronto has a 338. So the BABIP yesterday caught up to them, and it caught up to them in a hurry. They did not hit with runners in scoring position. It was just an ugly game for Toronto, and they did it against the Baltimore pitching staff, who hasn't shut down anybody all year long. So to me, that's a sign saying that Toronto has peaked, and now we got to look for reasons to play against them. And because they've done so well, we're going to get some pretty good numbers going against them in the next few days here, I believe. We're looking at Barrios going for Toronto. He's got a 3.83 ERA, 4.57 expected, 1.25 WHIP. He's a guy, and I mentioned this before, for the most part, every year in his last 5 or 6 years, he's outperformed his expected ERA. That's just part of what he does. He's able to get people out, but it's still an ugly profile when you're looking at the StatCast page. There's no red. They either have red for good, blue for bad, and everything is blue. I have lost a lot of money going against Barrios over the years because of his numbers similar to this, but you're going to find some outliers all the time when you're looking at the stats like this. And he's a guy that I'm dumbfounded when I play on him or against him. I don't have a lot of success. So chances are I won't be involved with this one. Kramer, 4.23 ERA, 3.94 expected, 1.25 WHIP. He's really good at hard hit percentage, 84th percentile, walk rate 79th, average exit velocity 76th. But he's not going to get you a lot of strikeouts, 32nd percentile strikeouts, 18th in whiff. Extension only the 23rd. He's 6'2", and yet he doesn't have much extension. His strikeout minus walk ratio is 13.3, less than what we want. So I would normally take a look at this and look to play the over, but I won't here because it is an early getaway game. Goes off at like 12:35 Eastern. Coming off that doubleheader, yeah, you would normally find the bullpen's a little bit worn out, but I don't know if I want to bet the over here. I'm going to pass.
Guys, do us all a favor and go to wagertalk.com and check our pages out because we put free plays up almost every day. And I have my MLB play out already for today, so go check it. I have my pitcher projections downloadable for free as well, so check that out. Take 5 seconds. Comment on the replay as well. When I cap games, I like to look at stats that kind of pop out. And one stat when I went over this game that really pops out is how bad these batters just cracked the hell out of Berrios. His stats against these batters are atrocious. And I have him ranked 25 out of 30 on a curve of 30 out of all pitchers. So I can see the Orioles just jumping all over him in this game. He's got a 309 average against. He's got almost 100, more than 100 at bats against, I think. I don't have the number in front of me, but I remember it was 100 something. 309 average against and a 910 OPS against. And they just hammer the crap out of him. So if anything, I'd like to do a Baltimore team total over, but 4.5, it's tough to play a 4.5 over because they got to score 5 runs. And that's, you got to score, you got to be on a pace of 1 run every 2 innings. And that's a heck of a pace to keep up with. Or you got to get them in bunches. So 4.5 seems really high. I don't know. Game total 10 seems a little high as well, but that stat really jumped out at me. So somehow I'd like to take the Berrios. Maybe I'll bet his earned runs over 2.5. Or I'll take his hits over 6.5 or something. I'll find some way to bet Berrios in this one to get cracked.
Hey, Brandon.
Yeah.
Is it possible? I know you like to do the run hits errors. Is there a guy that has really gone off on him for Baltimore? That may be a different way to look at it.
Exactly. Who was it? Let me take a look here. Yeah. The guy who has really cracked him pretty well is Ryan O'Hearn. So his hits, runs, RBIs over 1.5 might be a way to go. He's 12 of 37. He's got a 931 OPS and a 324 average against. Looks like he's been doing most of the damage. Gunnar Henderson is always a good hits, runs, RBIs guy to take because he's always on a hits streak. And I think his OPS is somewhere 800 plus. So Gunnar Henderson's always a good guy, but I would do O'Hearn in this one if I was going to do that bet.
I'm going to read, someone tweeted at me. It was actually a comment on, so I post my plays every day, win or loss, to Twitter. And I posted my 2 Blue Jays losses yesterday. And he says, essentially was like, oh, now you can just play the Jays again today. I've already got the write-up for you. They can't possibly lose again. Listen, that is not how you should ever handicap baseball. And I don't think I've ever, just because I played them in 2 legs of the doubleheader, that was never my rationale. And I actually like the Orioles today. And the reason, and it plays off of some of the stuff Tokyo Brandon just talked about. The reason I was taking a position on the Blue Jays yesterday is I had 2 left-handed starters in the doubleheader, and I thought Easton Lucas would throw better. Can't win them all. I thought he would come out, shut him down for 3 innings. He couldn't find the zone. The Orioles crush right-handed pitching, and at home, the splits are even more drastic. So why would I want any part of the Blue Jays today when you have a right-handed pitcher on the mound and the Orioles just absolutely crush right-handed pitching at home? The answer is I don't. It would be Orioles or pass for me here. Now, do I want the Orioles knowing that one of their relievers walked over to the other dugout yesterday, Sir Anthony Dominguez, so they don't have him, and they've used a couple of relievers? The back end of this game might get a little sketchy for the Orioles because they've had injuries in the bullpen as it is. But I want absolutely no part of the Blue Jays in this game. And I'm with TV. It would be Orioles or pass, finding a way to get on the Orioles to score runs or pass, because the only thing I can look at this game and confidently say is that the Orioles should hit Berrios, because this is the profile of pitcher that this team just lights up. Now, Andrew McKinnis, that's our guy. He's in the chat. What's up to McKinnis? Appreciate you tuning in. He is a diehard Blue Jays fan. And so he makes a great point, because I've noticed it with this team for years. He says, this Jays team is so emotional. It pisses me off as a fan. Guys are either smiling, dancing around, having fun, or they looked rattled and frustrated. There's never an in between. Yeah, that was one of the biggest criticisms of the Bichette, Vlad, like this team that's supposed to do all these great things the last few years. They when things start to go bad, they don't know how to get themselves out of it really. And it hasn't really come up this year because things have been running really good for them. But in years past, that has been like the sort of like the main thing where it's just like they look miserable and the heads are down, they're hanging their heads. And it's like, that's what I saw for 18 innings yesterday. I had the misfortune of watching 18 innings of Blue Jays baseball yesterday where they just they looked exactly what McKinnis is pointing out. How do they carry that into this? How do they get up today, play a noon game and shake that? That's the question. I don't think they do. That's I don't think I can bet it, but I don't think they do. Bryan, go ahead.
It's interesting that that's been said with a team that has Max Scherzer on the team. Max Scherzer is the most bulldog type of guy you can ask for. He should be the guy. It's not his spot for being a pitcher on this team, but he's got to be the guy that comes out and just yells at him and says, "Hey, we haven't won this game yet."
Yep.
And it's strange to have somebody like him out there who, like, some people don't even want to come near him when he's pitching because he'll bite their head off. And that's just something that he needs to come out and do something, because it's clearly, I agree. I watch this team play, and I love Vladdy Jr., but he is very happy-go-lucky kind of guy. And they need somebody to kick some ass there. Maybe it's the manager's fault.
It's such a good point by McKinnis. Honestly, Bo Bichette, like, last night he looked like my 9-year-old nephew, where like we're throwing in the backyard and I could tell it's like probably time for a freeze pop to take a break because he's not focused anymore. He swung at a 3-2 pitch that was at his eyes to end the game last night. Like, and that to me, and he went 0 for 5, right? So he went 0 for 5. Tokyo Brandon's so disgusted at it, he just left. He went, but we'll probably get him right back. The point is, he was 0 for 5, and that's what McKinnis is talking about. And the reason that we're still talking about it here is because I think that's your handicap for this game. If you like the Orioles and you like how the stuff lines up for them, you've got to like the spot from a mental standpoint, because it's really tough to shake that playing a day game after a doubleheader. Like, how are you going to shake how you were sort of feeling yesterday that quickly? And it's like, again, I just don't know if I have the guts to play the Orioles a day after I played the Blue Jays twice. But I'm not telling you not to do it. I'm just saying, like, I might go into a mental tailspin if I play the Orioles today and the Blue Jays come out and win. But if you didn't get involved in a doubleheader yesterday, more power to you. I think you have to look at the Orioles. All right. TB, you're back. So we lost you there for a sec.
Yeah. I switched on my VPN and it cut me off.
That's no problem. Do you want to? I saw you throw a something into our Slack chat. Do you want to bring that up right now? I think it's a good spot to break up the show and talk about that quick.
So this is pertaining to the Tigers Diamondbacks game. And let's see. Let me get my timestamp here. We're at 33:36. Okay. So I've been watching baseball, scouting baseball, following baseball for quite a long time, and I still can't figure out why. Number one, 2 questions. Why do pitchers almost, I'd say 90% of them, have better stats at home? Why? Is it because they're comfortable in the park? Is it because that's the park they practice in? Maybe that's it. Maybe you guys have some other answer to that, but that's the only thing I can think of. And number 2, for a guy like Paddock today, who's making his first start with the Tigers after getting traded. Now, his home is Detroit now. So does that mean he's going to pitch better at Detroit, even though it's a foreign ballpark to him? So how do you approach that? So I have no answer for that. So I really don't know. So let's get Bryan's thoughts on that while I punch in these timestamps.
Well, first of all, everybody feels better at home. If you follow the other sports, your teams do better at home than they do on the road. So it's just not the pitchers. The hitters usually hit better at home. You're used to that situation. You feel comfortable. hey, nobody wants to be booed and, stuff thrown at you and called all names or whatever. And unless you live in Philadelphia or New York, that doesn't happen at home. But it's a situation where you feel more comfortable there. And in baseball for the starting pitchers, obviously the mound has a lot to do with it. Your grounds crew knows how you like the mound. So when you start at home, they kind of tend it to be what you want it to be. I don't know if that's going to have an effect on Paddock here, unless he's gotten together already with the grounds crew in Detroit and talked about that. But that's basically what it is. And your younger players, and I've said this in every sport, your younger players all feel better playing at home than they do on the road. Sometimes they get intimidated on the road. So, yeah, a lot of reasons for it, but it's the same in every sport. Every sport I've ever followed, your home team wins more than it does on the road.
Well, let's stay on this topic. Let's go right into the game that Paddock will be pitching today in his new home, Comerica Park. And so I'll go to Bryan first, but I just want to say that I understand and I like the trade for the Tigers here. I think you're gonna see the Tigers get away from the bullpen game every fifth day thing. I just don't think it's been as effective as it was toward the end of last year. I think for a number of reasons they're not as locked in as a unit this year. And so I just think that Hinch probably looked at his team and was like, man, I'm really taxing the bullpen every fifth day. And it's we've got guys that aren't super sharp. There's guys that were big contributors last year. Brisky comes to mind, not having as good of a season. There's a couple others. So I think that was the basis for this move. I don't hate it. Paddock's been okay. He's not someone, I'm not rushing to back him here, Bryan Leonard, but I don't mind the move for the Tigers. And I do still think we're in Tigers uptick that we talked about earlier, late last week, earlier this week. They're starting to bounce back from that lull. I don't necessarily want to get in front of them either. So how are you seeing Nelson Paddock just from a matchup standpoint?
Well, the reason why they brought in Paddock is because Reese Olson is now out for the season. It came out of nowhere, really, because they didn't even say he was really majorly hurt. I know when last time they played, I played Detroit, and he looked really good, and then all of a sudden he fell apart. That was when his arm was bothering him a little bit, and so we just assumed he'd miss his next start and come back. And Olson is a really good pitcher. He's injured a lot, but when he pitches, he's very good. And once they announced that he was out, they needed to find somebody to come in and fill those innings. And from the Minnesota standpoint, they were looking to get rid of Paddock. They have younger players they'd like to put in there. And it's getting to the point in the season now with Minnesota where they're not going to win the division, and they want to see what they can get out of, Matthews and some of the other guys they've got down there in the pitching staff. So it worked out well for both teams. Paddock pitching today at home against Nelson for Arizona. We're looking at about a 130 favorite for Detroit, a total of 9. Ryan Nelson's been very good as of late. He's been probably the best pitcher on this team. He comes in with a 3.29 ERA on the season, 3.99 expected, 1.02 whip. That's what he's been much better at this year. He's really cutting down on that. But, his extension really helps. He's 6'3". It's 85th percentile in extension, but he still has problems. His average exit velocity is the 13th percentile, chase rate 21st, whiff rate 13th. His numbers have been really good, but he may be about due for a regression candidate right there. Chris Paddock, 4.95 ERA, 4.63 expected, 1.28 whip. He's had a lousy whip the last 3 years, 1.40, 1.39, 1.28. He's not a big strikeout guy. He's gone 111 innings this year, only has 83 strikeouts. His four-seamer he throws 46% of the time, and yet it's about 1 full mile an hour lower than the average right-hander. He's at 93.8. He does throw 6 pitches, but his cutter and his sinker, he only throws less than 10% of the time. He's not the kind of guy if you're going to throw the four-seamer as your number one pitch, you better be better than league average. He's worse than league average. His extension's great. He's 6'5", 92nd percentile. Walk percentage has been very good, 87th percentile. Chase rate 86th, but strikeout rate 19th, whiff rate 21st, hard hit rate 26th, ground ball rate 26th. Pitching in this ballpark will help him. It's better pitching ballpark than Minnesota is. This is one of the best pitching ballparks in baseball. But I'm not sure he's going to be a great fit here. If you look at what these two teams have done over the last month hitting wise, we have Detroit and Arizona. Arizona right now is 28th in WRC plus with an 81. Their BABIP's about 285, isolated power 135. So they're not really hitting right now. And Detroit, believe it or not, are second worst the last month in WRC plus. It's at 80. Their BABIP is 288. So they're about league average, maybe a little bit under in that regard. But two teams that aren't hitting very well right now. We'll see if it turns around. Detroit did get their big bopper back. So that should help the lineup, and the lineup looks deeper now than it was before. So they're getting back to what they were earlier in the season when they had a lot of healthy players. But I don't want to go over a 9 in Detroit. They're more of a good pitching ballpark, and I think the bullpen for Detroit is very good too. So slight lean here with Detroit, but not enough to get involved.
Yeah, I'll make this one real quick because I was talking about the home stuff. So Brian Nelson is ranked pretty high according to my numbers, and Arizona has a slight advantage with the bullpen. Paddock ranked very low in my numbers, and I agree with Brian that Ryan Nelson will probably see a little regression from him. One frightening statistic that pops out when I looked over this game is the fact that in his career, Ryan Nelson has a 353 average against and a 948 OPS against versus these Detroit batters. Now, if Detroit were ranked 15 or higher in batting, I would jump all over their team total just because of that, or even their total in the first 5. But Detroit, ice cold. Arizona's ice cold as well. I think Detroit started to show signs of breaking out in their last game, if I'm not mistaken. But still, it's just a little too, I don't know. I mean, I'd like to approach Detroit's over somehow. So I looked at the first 5 inning team total, and it's 2.5. And, betting on them to score 3 runs when they're ranked 28 out of 30 teams in current form is just too much of a stretch for me. I'd like to go with Detroit, but I can't get there.
Yeah, I don't particularly care for Paddock, so I want to clarify. I think it was the right move from like team structure standpoint for now. I don't expect him to be anything more than just sort of like an innings type guy, 5th starter. Like, they're not going to run him out there in a playoff game. He's more there like, the Tigers they really can cruise control their way to a division title. Like, they just need someone to go out every 5th day, give them 5-6 innings so they don't cook the bullpen. Sean in the chat, he was pointing out the Tigers, how they've outscored the Diamondbacks. Like, I think the Tigers probably hit here. So I actually do like the over. I think 8.5 is a little bit low. I do expect Arizona to do something against Paddock because I think it's unrealistic to think that Paddock's just going to come in here and just wipe them out for 6-7 innings. So we'll call it Arizona gets 2 or 3 runs, maybe. Maybe they add one off the Tigers bullpen. Who knows? But I actually think the Tigers could get to Nelson here. Now, I don't know what kind of sample Nelson has against the Tigers. TB, you referenced it. I can't imagine it's that big. I don't think he's seen the Tigers a ton throughout his career. But I do. Well, I mean, he plays in a different, how many times have they faced in the last couple of years? Probably not that many. However, I do agree. Yeah, I do agree that Nelson's going to have possibly some regression. He's a guy that doesn't really have a great second or third pitch, so it's a really nice fastball. The second or third pitch isn't great at this point. And when the Tigers start to click, Brian mentioned Kerry Bonds is back, Kerry Carpenter, so that helps them. When the Tigers start to click, they really start to they really start to expose a guy like Nelson, who, doesn't have a great second or third pitch. All of a sudden, his fastball is not as effective. Tigers get some base runners. They're running first to third. When the Tigers are playing well, Those are the things they do regularly. It's what we basically saw them do for 3 months. And then they had a 2-week lull where they had a couple guys go to the All-Star game. Then they were tired. Then it just like all kind of went awry for a minute. But now I think the Tigers are back to being the Tigers that they were for the first 3 months. I expect them to score today. And I do think we see the Diamondbacks do something. That this offense has to wake up at some point. I think Paddock might be a nice, might be the guy to wake them up a little bit. So 8.5 for me is about a run off of where I think this, maybe a half run off of where I have this total. I think I made it like 9.1. But that's also a key number when you're talking totals, 8.5 as opposed to 9. So I like the over, again, considering it for the parlay, but we'll lock stuff in over the next 15 minutes. Go ahead, Brian.
Yeah. Arizona, Detroit's 9 slightly to the over all across the board. I'm not seeing.
Oh, so that moved. So that took some money then. Cause when I was jotting stuff down pre-show, it was 8.5. So that someone else must be looking at that as well. Interesting. All right. So so I'll go to Brian. Do you have any idea? We have 15 minutes left. We haven't locked a parlay leg in yet. Does either one of you want to propose a game that you might use for the parlay that we haven't talked about yet?
What do you think, TB?
Well, yeah, I'm going to take the Boston Red Sox here. So I guess we can talk about this game. We haven't talked about it yet, right?
Brian can start. Right. Yeah. Let's do Red Sox.
Let's have Brian start while I input the timestamp. Yeah.
Perfect.
Okay. This was one of the games that I was thinking about talking about, so it'll be good. We got Bello going against Brayo going against Matthews here. To current number, we've got Matthews about a 115, let's just say 115 favorite, 8 to the over on the total. Brian Bayo's a guy that I normally don't try to bet on. He's got a 3.32 ERA, but his expected ERA is 4.39. Last 2 years, his ERAs were 4.49 and 4.24. So I think we know what kind of pitcher he is. His whip this year is 1.28. He's always struggled with his career is 1.39. Very good ground ball percentage, 84th percentile, hard hit rate, 75th percentile. Not a guy who's going to strike anybody out, 21st percentile and 13th percentile on whiff rate. He throws 6 pitches, and his four-seamer is down to 17% usage this year. And I think that's why he's had more of his success. If you take a look at his four-seamer, it's basically league average for a right-handed batter. His sinker, he's gone with more of a sinker this year. That's his number one pitch. His sinker's actually thrown slightly faster than his four-seamer. It's 2.2% faster than his four-seamer. So he's a guy who's starting to learn how to pitch, and he's been better this year. But still, I just don't think he's a guy I'm looking to back for the most part. Zebby Matthews comes in with a 4.97 ERA, 3.67 expected. He's a guy that's pitching better than his numbers. His whip 1.34. If you remember last year, he was a guy that didn't walk anybody. His walk rate was 6.2. Now it's 7.3. But his strikeout rate has gone all the way up to 30.6, which gives him a 23.3 strikeout minus walk ratio. I kind of like Minnesota here. I know you said you like Boston, but I like Zebby Matthews. And last time out, he put it all together. Now, he's a young pitcher that could turn around and he could get bombed here. But I like him for future reference more than Bayo. He's pitching at home, and you're getting him as basically, slightly more than a pick-em situation. I prefer the Minnesota side. I'm interested to see why you like Boston.
Okay. I do like Boston here, mainly because now I'm kind of like you, Brian. I've never really liked Bayo much, but this season he's really turning it on. And what stat really jumps out to me is the fact that against these batters in his career, 143 average against and a 452 OPS against. That's pretty amazing. Not only that, but Boston's bullpen, in my opinion, current form performing a lot better than Minnesota's. The Boston bats are a little sleepy, but so are Minnesota's. I have them both ranked quite low. So I think that's comparable. I think Bayo can shut Minnesota out here. If you like Zebby, then maybe an under for this game might be good. But I'm going to go with the Red Sox on the money line for my parlay leg on this one.
Okay, looking like about plus 100 or so across the board.
They're underdog? Wow.
Boston's an underdog. Didn't you just listen to my analysis?
Yeah,
I did, but
well, I hope you're right. I also like the Twins here. I'll give my reasoning. I'm not saying that it's going to be right, but I will just, we got to break down the game. So, talking to Brian Power this morning, and we were talking about this game. I was talking to him yesterday about Pearson Ole, who made his major league debut for the Twins, and the Twins. This is like something that I noticed that they're doing in their organization. Like so Zebby Matthews was a 4-year college player from a mid-major, like a smaller school. They got him in like the 8th round. He went to Western Carolina. Ole is a 15th rounder. He went to Grand Canyon. The reason I'm bringing that up is these guys Zebby Matthews is not young. He's 25 years old, right? Like same thing with Ole. They spent 4 years at a college. And then what happens is the Twins want to see what they have with these guys quickly. So if they don't, so they can just boot them if they don't respond right away. Last year, Zebby Matthews started the year in A-ball, and he was in the big leagues by July. They just did the same thing with Ole. Started him in A-ball in the big leagues by July. The reason I'm bringing that up here is because Zebby's now in year 2. He's had an MLB offseason, and his numbers are very skewed this year by working around a couple injuries. So when you look at what he's done this year, it's actually been very impressive. It's just he's had more of his impressive starts have been at AAA. And it's just the way that the cookie has crumbled for him a little bit. I don't think he's thrown the ball any better or worse. It's just he's had a little bit better luck when he's on the mound at St. Paul than when he is with Minnesota. I think some of it is injury. I think some of it is just luck, right? Like it's just, he's starting every 5th day, but he's not always at the big league level. Last time out was his best start of the year. And that's what Bryan alluded to. Six shutout innings against the Nationals, 7 strikeouts, no walks. I would prefer to play on, try to like ride that a little bit, because I do think that you're going to start to see him sort of put it all together, because he's done it. And he just hasn't really been able to do it this year because he hasn't always been at the big leagues. He had an injury for a minute. So I don't want to bet against him. It doesn't mean I love the Twins here per se in this spot, but I do like Zebby. So that's just my breakdown of the game. But I don't have a strong enough opinion to tell you not to put it in the parlay. So TB's going with the Red Sox in the parlay. Fine with that. And like I said, I hope you're right about that, because I want to hit the parlay.
Well, I've been the loser of the parlay the last 2 or 3 ones. So yeah, I'm not feeling real good about it now.
So Sean puts up, so he's saying no Buxton, no Correa. Twins could be resting a couple guys today. That certainly matters. So again, that was really more all I have to offer there to that analysis is what I've noticed with Zebby Matthews. Do what you will with it. I'm not saying that the Red Sox won't find a way to win this game. So TB's on the Red Sox for the parlay, and we're fine with that. We hope they get it done. All right. I'll throw a game out there that I saw in the chat a couple times, because this might very well be it for me. We talked about one young team, the Rockies, not playing particularly well yesterday. Another young team that we've been way ahead on finally didn't have their best game yesterday. That was the Chicago White Sox, but they get to do it again today. So we have Phillies, White Sox, Bryan Leonard. There's something I like in this game. I don't know if you have a guess as to what it might be, but I'm going to let you go first. Phillies, White Sox. How are you seeing this one?
Taijuan Walker against Adrian Hauser. Current line in this one is Philadelphia about a 135 favorite, total of 9. When you look at what they've done offensively, Philadelphia is 6th over the last month with a 120 WRC plus. It's all come on isolated power. They lead the majors in isolated power at that time, which is 243, because they have guys that can get out in front and pull that ball, and that's where they get their power from. Their BABIP is only 267, and it's very similar to what the Yankees usually do. The Yankees right now come in with a BABIP of 244, so both these teams are very similar offensively in that regard. Obviously, the Yankees are missing Judge right now. But Philadelphia does have a lot of power on this team, and when they're hitting for power, they can have success. The White Sox are also having a nice month offensively. Got a 124 WRC plus, fourth in baseball, but a lot of that comes down to their BABIP, which is 305. Taijuan Walker going for Philadelphia, 3.84 ERA, 3.88 expected ERA, 1.35 WHIP. He's actually been pretty good this year. He's got a 3.5 record, but that's the best ERA he has had in a while. And his the only thing is he's not a big strikeout minus walk guy. He's only at 10.5. So yeah, we've picked on Walker many times, going against him. But here against Chicago, I do have some concerns. Hauser's been great at home, even better at home than on the road. He's got a 2.12 ERA, 3.96 expected, though. So he's been very fortunate. Now, he does have that barrel percentage at 92% percentile, extension 85th percentile, ground ball rate 73rd, all great. But his whiff percentile is in the 5th percentile, K rate 14th, hard hit rate 16th. He's a guy that I got a feeling is going to blow up at any time. I am concerned a little bit here against a good hitting Phillies team. I have a feeling, once again, you're going to be looking at the other side of this game than I would. I would prefer the Philadelphia side, but I have enough underdogs on today's card where I think it's a good underdog day, so I probably won't get involved.
Yeah, this is another one of those cover the logo games, because if you cover the logo and the team names, man, these teams rank neck and neck as far as my numbers are concerned. But then you take your hand off the logos and you're like, oh, Philly's going to crush them. But Philly's on their way to the playoffs, World Series contenders. The White Sox are just playing out another meaningless season. But White Sox are hitting really well right now. Their bullpen is so-so, but I like Hauser. My numbers have him pretty mediocre, but they have Taijuan Walker pretty mediocre as well. And Philly bullpen, slight advantage. Both teams are crushing the ball right now, especially the White Sox. Got them ranked number 3 in all of MLB. So cover the logo. I would take the Adam Trigger special, White Sox plus 1.5, if I were to bet this one. And, but both teams are hitting really well. So it's really hard to take a 1.5 because I think this is going to be like 10 plus runs in this game. So, yeah, that would be the way I would go. By the way, can I change my parlay leg to Boston Red Sox first 5 under 4.5? I think that's a better bet because both pitchers are hot and neither team is really hitting very well. So if I could change my parlay leg, sorry about that, guys.
Me. It's fine with me.
I think I'll do
that. People that went out and bet Boston.
Yeah, well, they can bet Boston if they want. No one has bet the parlay yet because we don't have one yet. So if you want to change it now, go ahead. So what?
Yes, please.
So you're gonna go Red Sox, Twins
under 4.5 in the first 5, and it's minus 120.
It's 125 for the most part.
125. Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do.
I got to be honest. I came into this sort of breakdown thinking that White Sox plus 1.5 would be the way I would go. It's still the way I would go in this particular game, but I do think I maybe didn't really think through the fact that Philly really could hang a number on Hauser here. Bryan makes a great point. Some of those underlying metrics for Hauser suggest that he might maybe give back some of his good start at some point, like this great start to his MLB season, really his White Sox career. He was throwing the ball well for Round Rock in the Rangers organization prior to getting signed by the White Sox. So the more I think about it, and I do not like Taijuan Walker. So maybe I've spoken over into existence here. Like maybe that's the way I would look at this game personally, because I do think the White Sox can get something off Walker. I am a little bit concerned that Hauser might get bombed at some point. And with the Phillies being what the Phillies can be, and also the fact that they profile better against a right-handed pitcher, I am kind of maybe I'm going to have to go think about that game a little bit more before I decide what I want to do with it, which means my parlay leg will be the Rockies again today. Plus 1.5. I'm running it back. I think that this is a much better scenario for the Rockies than yesterday was. You have the veteran Freeland on the mound. They didn't use any of the good bullpen arms, and they're I mean, it's the Guardians. It's probably going to be some of the B bullpen guys. Cody Allard's not really a big league pitcher, in my opinion. I've watched him plenty at Columbus. He's more of he's a guy that I guess you don't mind having in there for a couple of innings, but not someone I'm that concerned about the Rockies generating some offense off of. I'll go back to what I keep saying. 2 even teams right now. So, Brian Leonard, what is the Rockies plus 1.5 line right now?
I do want to say that Allard's probably part of a bullpen game.
Yes,
that game
I agree.
Colorado. So he won't be in more than an inning or two. Right now, Colorado plus 1.5 is minus 136.
All right, I'll take that. And yeah, Allard, I think he could go. I think they might give him a couple innings. Like, I mean, he was starting games for Columbus, so he definitely has the ability to go more than one. But yeah, I wouldn't. I'm with you in the respect that, like, they're not leaving him out there very long, and I'm fine with that. I think the Rockies can generate some offense. I'll say it one more time. Since the All-Star break, they've been an underdog every game. They're 6-5, playing much better ball. So give me the 1.5 with the road team. All right, Brian Leonard, we need to close this parlay out. So let's what do you got for us here?
I've got a few games I like that are underdogs. And by the way, we mentioned it earlier, the trade deadline ends tomorrow. And we actually talked about Ryan O'Hearn. Ryan O'Hearn's one of the guys for Baltimore that is almost guaranteed to be traded. That's the problem you run into right now. A lot of these teams, you handicap the game expecting somebody to be in the lineup, and then he's not going to be. Buxton was mentioned; he's on the IL now, so you've got to keep that in account when you're looking at these. So everything all week long has been pretty small for me. I'm going to keep it small again today. But why is the St. Louis Cardinals a 145, 150 favorite here against Miami? Yeah, I know it's why. It's because Contral's going for Miami. But Contral's a much better pitcher when he goes on the road. I talked about in the past. He's not a great pitcher by any means. But how could you expect another performance that Miles Mikolas put in his last start? Blew me away. It's probably the best start he has had in years. And St. Louis right now is a seller. They're already talking about Helsley's almost as good as gone right now. Some of their key hitters on this team, their veteran hitters, will likely be traded. Nobody's looking for the Miami hitters, and they're looking for the Miami pitchers. Well, that's not going to have an effect. Miami's other starters are not going to have an effect on this game right here. So at least I know Quantrill's not going anywhere, and Mikolas isn't going anywhere. And so I look at the two. I prefer Quantrill over Mikolas, and we're getting a plus. I'm seeing upwards of 132 out there on Miami. I'm going to play Miami plus 128 here, as I think they're just as good as St. Louis is. They've got more to play for the rest of the season, and who knows how many of these Cardinals players will be gone today or tomorrow. I'm taking a shot here with a nice underdog, and we'll play Miami plus 128.
I know we're running a little long, so I'll keep it very concise, but I agree with Brian. I have Cal Quantrill ranked higher than Miles Mikolas. There's no way in the history of the world Miles Mikolas should be a minus 150 favorite under any circumstance. So, I would agree with Brian's analysis there.
I fully agree with Brian's analysis. The only thing I'll add, 2 things. 1, I cashed with Quantrill last week. He pitched great against the Brewers. 2, the Marlins bullpen has been as good as any over the last month and a half. The group of relievers that they now have at the big league level are all fantastic. And if you look at recent TV, pull it up real quick. What do you have Marlins bullpen last 30 days? It's got to be very close to the top of the league. They have been awesome. So
5.
How about that? Right? They're not getting 5 credit from the bookmakers because they're still judged off the full season, but they have been nails, that relief unit. Go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, one final thing. The best relievers in the St. Louis bullpen, Helsley, Maton, Romero, and O'Brien, none of them, well, the Romero, Maton, and Heisley have not pitched in 4 days. They will likely get into the game, but they will be very rusty. In fact, there's probably a reason why Heisley hasn't pitched is because they've been looking to trade him. They don't want him to get hurt. So, yeah, a lot of things to be concerned about with the Cardinals here.
So we have now that juiced up the parlay very nicely. That parlay is plus 615 now. I'll read it off here. We have Rockies plus 1.5. That's full game. We have Marlins money line plus 128. That's full game. And then Tokyo Brandon is going to go with Red Sox Twins under 4.5 in the first 5. I've got to say, I'm glad you changed that. I like that much better personally. I think you're onto something there with that being under. So, someone in the chat says these guys pushing a parlay. If you're new to the show, we do a show parlay every show. So far this year, if you've played them all, they're up 10.4 units, or for every dollar, if you've played them equally, every dollar would yield $10.40. They've been, it's something we do for fun, but they're still winning. So I'm going to point that out. So yeah, the parlay is just something we do for fun. You can bet them straight. You can bet them. You don't have to bet them at all. We actually really don't care. We're just trying to give out decent info. But that's what we do every show. And we're going to end this show the way we do every show, with the parlay, and also telling you to go like and subscribe and comment and support the show. We very much appreciate that. But one more time for the people in the back, TB, the parlay is plus 615. It's Rockies plus 1.5. It's Marlins on the money line and Red Sox Twins first 5 under 4.5. Appreciate all you guys tuning in live on demand. We've been able to do this show 5 days a week, and it's because of all of the viewers and the fact that it's done well because of you guys. So we very much appreciate all the comments, good, bad, feedback, whatever you've got, we want to hear it. So jump in and put those comments in the replay, and good luck with all your plays today. Enjoy some day baseball. We will see you guys tomorrow morning right here, 9 a.m. Eastern.